Welcome back to MR Fishing Ohio, and today I'm going to unbox the Vertex Contender from Ardent. It's their brand new reel. I'm really excited to get my hands on it and use it in this upcoming season. While that will be a little bit away, it's still cool to get rigged up and get stuff fine-tuned before fishing season shows up. So here it is. I got the left-handed model. Different design entirely from their other reels, so that's kind of cool. A lot of their reels have the same principal design as far as the shape, and they have similar spools, but this one has an entirely different spool design, which is really cool. And then the handle is slightly different as well. Not too big a difference, but I do like how it feels right off the bat. It's super smooth, and it has a few other features that are pretty cool. For one, its main feature is that it's centrifugal brakes, and if you don't know the difference between centrifugal brakes and magnetic, I can show you. So one of the reels I use a lot, this Apex Grand, it's a dual brake system. It has the magnetic brakes, which are right here, and then inside are some internal centrifugal brakes that you can adjust if you take the reel apart. But for the Vertex, it does not have those magnetic brakes, you can see. And that is because it's centrifugal. And all you have to do to adjust them is pop this open. And inside you can see there are 6 brakes in here. Right now I have 3 on and 3 off. That's a good standard rule of thumb if you're just getting a reel and you haven't used it yet. But if you're familiar with baitcasters, you've used centrifugal brakes before, adjust it how you want. If you've never used a baitcaster with centrifugal brakes, probably want to turn them all on first just to get used to casting so you don't backlash all the time, and then you can slowly start taking those off. I'm going to leave it 3 on just for the first few times I use it, get a feel for it, and then I adjust it accordingly. Now this is a left-handed model obviously, and I got it in the 7-gear ratio. They have a left and right hand model. 7-gear ratio is kind of my go-to gear ratio for, well, over half of the lures that I use. And most of the time from late spring to summer to fall, I have spinnerbaits and chatterbaits all rigged to go, and I use 7-gear for those. And it's kind of my ideal speed. It's a little fast. I like to power fish, and I don't do a lot of lures very slow. And this one is kind of an in-between 7-gear ratio. They make 8, 9-gear ratio reels now, but I like a 7. It's a good speed. I'll use a 6 for different kinds of crankbaits and stuff like that, certain swim jigs. But overall, I really like this as an option for a lot of the main lures I use. Now, another thing I like about the reel is how it sits on my favorite rod. So my favorite rod from this past season is my Kahunna rod, and I'm going to slip that on there, show you what it looks like. It just feels right. It's a nice color scheme match as well. I'm always a fan of that, matching up rod and reel colors if possible. It's not mandatory, but it just is a kind of a cool thing if you can do it. Now, I didn't have, there we go. Get this screwed in and kind of show you what it looks like. All right, so there it is, all rigged up. This is probably going to be my main spinnerbait setup for the year. Really excited to use it. I figure my nicest reel I'll put on my nicest rod to throw my favorite technique. It just makes sense. So excited to use it for the year. Really pumped to get out again bass fishing. I went for peacock bass fishing the other week, and that was a ton of fun. Kind of got scratched the itch a little bit, but knowing I'm not going to fish much for the next 3 months is a little depressing, but I can, for the meantime, do rigging videos and stuff like that. So not all is lost. Now, I did want to talk about one other thing real quick, and that was I got a new rod that's going to be my kind of my main deal when it comes to early in the year. That, of course, is lipless crankbaits, which I'm sure you're all aware I use a ton, especially in March, April, and May. And so I have this. This is a unreleased rod from Witch Doctor. It's called the Pandemic, and I think that's when it was first designed, probably during COVID. I don't know if it's a joke with that, but I know I'm going to be causing some pandemonium for the bass, hopefully in April. And this rod, it's a little different than what I've used for lipless before, but if I have questions on rods, I talk to the owner of Witch Doctor Tackle. He's knows way more about fishing than I do, especially when it comes to specific rods for specific techniques. He's made thousands of rods by hand, and so if he tells you a recommendation, pretty much going to take it because he knows what he's doing when it comes to making lure specific rods. He has hundreds of different options. So when I told him I wanted to spend a little money and get something, a nice setup for crankbaits, he threw a couple different things at me. This one is designed for cranking and popping for inshore saltwater fishing, actually. And it was a perfect action for what I want on a crankbait setup. So it's little meatier than what I typically use. It's medium heavy, but it still has enough bend in it for those treble hook lures. And what I like is it's lighter than my other medium heavy rods. I used a medium heavy setup early in the year for lipless crankbaits, and I had a really great day on that setup, but most of the time I'd use a medium action. So I'm excited to try this one out. I know I'm going to like it. I already really like how the rod sits in my hand. It's so light. I've never had a rod this light that is this heavy of action. So that's really cool because I'm going to be able to throw it all day and not feel like I'm casting a broomstick. One of my things I don't like about bigger rods is that they're cumbersome and you get tired doing the casting motion all day. And one thing that's really nice about all the Witch Doctor rods is that they have these, so it's not digging into your ribs and being super painful all day. But yeah, that's kind of the deal on the new reel and a new rod. And I'll do a full kind of gear setup video at some point before the season starts. I got a lot of slightly different setups, I guess, not a lot, but I changed a few things up. I was able to get a couple other rods that are just gonna be kind of like extras because some of the crazy deals that Tackle Warehouse had. So those are gonna be kind of for really specific things I don't plan to use a lot, but I'm gonna try them out and see if I like them. And if it so be that I do like it, then I'll get a nicer rod down the line. But I just kind of got some cheap stuff just to test out, see if I can like throwing the lure at all. I'm not gonna go spend a couple $100s on a nice rod for a technique I don't even like. So that's a smart move for any of you out there. If you're just trying to get into a specific style, try it out first before you break the bank. You buy all this stuff to throw big heavy swim baits, and you realize you hate doing that, and then you already spent $400 on a rod and $200 on a reel, and then you're $600 in the hole for a bunch of lures you'll never throw. So just kind of my recommendation there. Start with cheaper options before you decide. Now for reels, you can always splurge on them, but for rods, you gotta be careful because it can just be an ornament in your garage. You know, not liking the lure style that goes with it. So thanks for tuning in. I'll be doing more videos as we go on, but catch you later.